I've had an interest in the physical aspect of it from just being a kid and watching Wonder Woman get tied up with her own lasso. I'm like, wow, consensually, of course, but that's kind of cool. I want to do that when I get older.
It's kind of hot when they're struggling like that. Yeah,
exactly. And they're screaming into their own panty gag.
You're listening to the premier podcast for men who want to not only be better with women, but want to be better men in general. This is the Come On Man podcast. And here's your host, Paul Bauer.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another week of Come On Man. If you haven't done so already, please like, subscribe, hit those notifications. Drop a comment. Any comment will do. Even if it's your favorite emoji, I pretty much say this every week. You know what to do. Drop it down below. If you guys are listening on your favorite audio platform of choice, give us a 5-star review and actually write out why you like the show. If I see a new one, I'll actually read it in an upcoming episode. I haven't seen a new one in a while. Y'all on Apple Podcasts have been slacking. Y'all have been slacking, but you guys are like 60% of my listeners. You guys are like 60% of my listeners out there, and you guys are just being lazy. You're being lazy. So stop what you're doing. Give us a 5-star review. Actually write out a couple sentences why you like the show. It'll take you like 2 minutes. Take you 2 minutes tops. Follow me on social media. Links are in the description for that. Get on the Patreon, patreon.com/comeonmanpod. You can join for as little as $10. You get these episodes, these Mondays episodes, ad-free without all this stuff. You get just the interview portion, which is nice, and you get added to the beer credits at the end of these episodes. So if you guys stay tuned to the end, you can see all the dudes that are in the beer club that support the show so that we can bring you enjoyment. You can thank those guys because they're supporting the show. Let's see here. Get on the email list.comeonmanpod.com, and I'll send you some free stickers for your troubles. If you guys like those designs, they're also available in merch, right? This one's not available as a sticker, right? The girl, you know I'm a bad boy. This is only available in the merch store. But you can get the merch at merch.comeonmanpod.com. I've got a lot of Rule Zero stuff in there right now that people love. That's flying off the shelves like hotcakes. People love the Rule Zero merch. And finally, check out my Practical Law of Attraction course, loa.comeonmanpod.com. It is a mindset course. It'll help you get your mind right. There's no chick crack or woo-woo genies granting wishes or crystals and chakras and stuff like that. It's purely psychology based. So, you learn how to do things like use affirmations to reprogram your subconscious mind so that you actually believe you can achieve the goals you want out of life. And if your subconscious believes it, it will do whatever it takes to make it a reality. So check out that course. It'll help you with money, women, fitness, your health, all that kind of stuff, right? Once your mind is right, everything else tends to fall into place. All right. Joining me this week is a guy who likes fireside chats and drinking fine liquors and tying bitches up. I'm talking about Vince. Vince from Masculine Geek. He's an interesting cat. He's into motorcycles. He's into making fun of Aaron Clary, which everyone loves. Everyone loves to do, especially on Twitter. But no, we have a really fun conversation. I think you guys are going to get a lot out of this. Vince is a very interesting man, and I will bring you that conversation right after these words. Do you struggle to find the kind of women you want? Are you tired of swiping away all day on dating apps and only finding mediocre women? When you're out and about at the supermarket or at the mall, all you see are woke liberal women? You can't seem to find a traditional submissive woman that checks all your boxes. What if I were to tell you that the reason why you can't find your traditional submissive woman is because of your mindset, because of your paradigm? We get what we focus on in life. And you have programmed your mind to think that there's only trash women around you. You've programmed your mind by focusing on what you don't want in a relationship. To solve this problem, I've created my Practical Law of Attraction course. In my course, I will teach you how to reprogram your subconscious mind so that you will be hyper aware of the kind of women that will check all of your boxes. It's not that they weren't there before, it's just that you weren't aware of them because of your current mindset. So let's change that mindset today. Check out my course by visiting loa.comeonmanpod.com. That's loa.comeonmanpod.com. The law of attraction is nothing without action. So act now. All right, joining me this week is a man who likes fireside chats, drinking fine liquors, is excellent at tying knots, and likes to put his girls in collars. It's Vince from Masculine Geek. What's going on today, brother?
How you doing, Paul? Thanks for having me on. This is an honor and a privilege.
Yeah, man. I've been wanting to get you on for a long time though, but I like trying to come up with unique intros for guys when they come
That was
on
a good
the
intro.
show.
That was a very good intro. I'll take it.
So I'm completely naive here. Up until now, I just thought that Masculine Geek was a YouTube channel for guys who like to play D&D and fuck. But no, it's also an online men's community.
Correct.
Can you tell us about your men's community?
MasculineGeek.life. Yes, we have. It's a space for men. Excuse me. Created by men. It's considered like back in the 17 and 1800s, even into the early 1900s. You had men's clubs, right? Men would go. They would talk. They'd play billiards. They'd talk over business. They'd get away from the domestic life. There were places they could meet and hang out and relax before they went home or went about their business. Well, this is an online version of that. It's fairly exclusive. Not to say we're like majorly important, but we like to vet our potential subscribers and then add them to the forums and the once a month, sometimes twice a month. We will have guests and chats, which are private and unrecorded, and you can speak your mind and talk whatever you need to talk out. If you're having an issue, you can throw it against the group and get some feedback, or just sit back with a drink and a cigar and enjoy the company of like-minded men.
Is that all done like through something like Zoom or?
I have a professional Zoom account. Correct.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Very cool. I think it's really important for guys to have another group of guys where they can bounce ideas off of and bring their problems to the group of guys. Cause so many guys have no friends outside. Like they might be married or they have a girlfriend or whatever, and they have zero friends outside of that relationship. And so they just dump all their baggage on their chick, and then their chick's like, they might tolerate it at first, but after a while they just start losing attraction. Like, why is this guy such a fucking pussy? Why can't he handle his shit?
Well, that's it. Women gravitate towards men that are confident and have their shit handled. Mm-hmm. Because if something were to go down, then they can handle their shit and the group relationship shit. Mm-hmm. They just want stuff handled. And a man that can do that. So yes, I always say that your wife, your girlfriend, she's not your friend. Mm-hmm. You can be friendly with her, and you're not a dick all the time. But your girl is not your friend. You don't take your problem. You don't have the same interaction with your buddies that you do with your girl, and you shouldn't. Those things that a polarity is needed, and being your girl's friend is not good for sexual polarity at all. So.
Yeah, it's a good way to end up in a dead bedroom, I think.
Correct. Absolutely.
How many members do you guys have roughly? Is it a big group or?
No, I want no more than 12. We have 8 we have 8 right at the moment.
Okay.
I want to keep it, it sounds silly, but sort of like the Knights of the Round Table, the King Arthur's court, the like 12. It's a good number to keep a handle of everybody. Mm-hmm. And it's intimate enough that we're not getting lost in a huge number. So I'm not.
No, that makes. I was going to say it makes sense. It makes sense because when I first started the podcast, my podcast started out of a men's group on Facebook called the 3% Man Group, and man, one of the first podcast episodes. Actually, we did 2 of these where we did an epic group call podcast episode where we had anybody in the group was invited. There was like 1,400 members in the group at one point, and so I mean, obviously, not all 1,400 people are going to show up for a group call, but like a good 20, 30 dudes showed up. I think for the first one. And it was just a fucking madhouse. Like people trying to get their shit in, trying to like, talk a little bit. It was so hard to try to moderate something like that. So if you're going to be doing, what are you saying? Monthly calls, or how
We
often
do.
do you do it?
I call them Fortress Zoom. They're called Fortress. I took it from Doc Savage's, say, the Fortress, the Fortress of Solitude, which Superman later ripped off. Like these are Fortress meetings, Zoom meetings, and we hang out for 2 to 3 hours. Like I just had one last night.
Yeah.
And this one was just a general gathering, just chatting. And then another one we're having in April. We're going to have traditional taboo back on to talk BDSM. She was on before and she loved it. She had a blast. So like, you know what? Come on again. Some guys have some questions. So
yeah, I've had Em on my podcast before. She's a cool chick. Yeah, for sure. How long have you had this community?
Well, Masculine Geek started in January of 2019, and then I started the community within that year. So the channel itself is this January was 4 years. The community is about a little under 3, or almost 3. So,
okay.
Yeah.
Got it. You said that Superman stole the name Fortress of Solitude from who?
Doc Savage.
Oh, okay.
Lester Dent's creation. Street and Smith had the publishing company Street and Smith had a house name. So a lot of places will have like a house author name, and in this case, it was Kenneth Robeson. So if Lester Dent, who was basically tasked with writing most of the Doc Savage stories, if he was unavailable, they would still run it didn't matter who wrote it; it was still under that house name. So. But the Fortress of Solitude is a Doc Savage production.
Interesting. Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, I didn't know that. That's fascinating. So, Vince, were you always a masculine geek, or were you at one point just a normal geek?
I was at one point a normal geek.
Okay.
Yeah.
What besides your love of pop culture and stuff like that, like what made you a geek? Like what do you geek out on the most?
Oh, if Dungeons and Dragons.
Okay.
Yeah. Lately I've been getting
that definitely puts you in the right.
Absolutely. I'll tell you, that was my creative outlet growing up. My first love, and I think a lot of young boys want to be Indiana Jones or adventure.
Oh, I totally did.
Right? Yeah, you totally wanted to be Indiana Jones. I wanted to be a detective. That was my first love. I saw the old detective noir stories, and I thought, you know what? That's really cool. This cool dude that's kind of on his own, but has some friends. He goes out, he solves crimes, he battles evil, he saves a damsel in distress, but he doesn't get with her. He may have a romantic interlude with her, but then he's like, all right, I got to go do my thing, get out of here. And he goes on to the next adventure. That was extremely attractive to me. I'm like, I want to do that, or some semblance of that when I grow up. So
yeah,
it didn't happen, but but I always had a creative outlet, a need to write or have some sort of creative outlet that was literary minded, and D&D, being a dungeon master, that fell in together nicely.
Got it. Okay. Yeah, man. Well, when I was a kid, I watched like the original trilogy of the Indiana Jones series probably like a million times. Wore out the VHS tapes on those. Used to walk around in my dad's fedora hat, like a real fedora hat, not one of those Trilby bullshit things, but actual Indiana Jones fedora. Used to want to be a police detective at one point. I used to really love like the Lethal Weapon movies. So I was like, oh, I want to be like, I want to be like fucking Riggs. That's why I wear cowboys boots now, because fucking Riggs,
There you go.
Like he always looks so cool in cowboy boots. It also helps I live out in ranch country, but
that's good.
At one point actually wanted to be a cop. Like after I got out of the Navy, I took some entrance exams for like San Diego PD, La Mesa PD, California Highway Patrol.
Oh, cool.
I was going to be a cop, and I was like, yeah, I'm finally going to do it. And then I ended up working as a security guard for a long time. And I was
Oh,
like,
you did the Aaron Clary thing too, yeah.
Yeah. Clary and I have
Yeah.
that in common. So
Yeah.
so I was a security guard, and like, I was like throwing homeless people off the properties I was working at, and like telling kids they couldn't skateboard and stuff. And I was like, I hate doing this, man. I
You were
hate
one of
telling
those
people.
guys, yeah.
Yeah, I was like, I hate telling people they can't, they can't be here. They can't, they're not hurting anybody. They're just annoying, right? Like, I hate telling people what they can and can't do. And I was like, I'll be the worst cop in the world,
Yeah, pretty much.
So that's why I realized I shouldn't be a cop. But so how did you end up in? How did you end up in like the men's space? Like I would say like the quote red pill manosphere type space.
To be honest with you, I'm not sure. I kind of fell into it accidentally.
I
don't think. Yeah, I don't think.
Accidentally, no one wants to be here. Like
nobody wants to be here. It just kind of. I tripped and fucking fell into the manosphere. It's a stupid word. I have immortalized it in one of my novellas, which once it's out, you can read it and like get a good laugh. So I'm trying to think. 2013, 2014, I came across Rollo's work and Quintus Curtius and Roosh on his Return of Kings. Just randomly, like, hey, check. I don't know how it came up. I wasn't searching for anything. It was just there in the the sidebar. I'm like, what the hell is this shit? And I'm like, okay, this is kind of cool. Let me delve into this. And it kind of went from there. We've always been on the periphery. We don't get too much involved. I don't like red meat. I don't like 13th grade drama bullshit.
Yeah.
It doesn't interest me. But the content, Rollo's content in specific, it was right on the mark. It gave voice to something that I knew in my gut. It was nice to read that, like, oh, this all right. Somebody gets this, and who's basically an academic, and is putting a logical sense to things that we men on a gut level we already know. So it's nice to have that validation. So that was my introduction. Essentially, it was Return of Kings.
Okay. Yeah,
and you're familiar with that website, right?
Yeah, I am. Which is funny because I happened upon that website myself one time. I was I was just doing some research on. I think it was for the 3% Man group that I was in, and this was before I even started the podcast. But I was looking for some kind of recommendation for just like the 4 basic exercises you need. And there was an article on Return of Kings on the 4 basic exercises that you need to be in shape, and and that was push-ups, sit-ups, pull-ups, and running. And that's what they recommended. I was like, well, that makes a lot of sense because that's essentially all we did in the military, those types of exercises. And so I used that as an example. I didn't even realize that like Roosh had anything to do with it until a couple of years later, And then I guess Cappy used to write for it too. I think
Aaron was on there. Troy was on there. There was some dude called Aviator. Donovan Sharp was on there. Who else? Oh shit, a bunch of names. So yeah, I thought that was kind of cool because that was a sort of a men's group, an online men. Even though it wasn't interactive, but you could go on, read articles about things that interested you, or you're trying to do some, like in your case, you're doing some research.
Yeah. So. Yes, and it's still out there. It's still out there. People can still go.
Oh, it is?
Read. Oh yeah, you go to I think it's returnofkings.com. It's still there. No one's writing on it anymore. I don't think I can't remember when the last article was written, but yeah,
I'll take a look at that one.
Still running.
Okay.
It's kind of like I used to have a tech blog years ago that I used to write in like daily, and it was called bowerpower.net, and I was basically I started that blog because I was married at the time. And I was just getting into IT, and I was learning all this new stuff, and like learning new operating systems, and learning how to fix things, and learning basic networking, all this stuff. And I would come home because I didn't have any friends. I was that guy. I would come home and I would be just boring my wife to tears on all this nerd shit that I was learning, and she couldn't fucking care less. And that hurt. that hurt, but I was like, all right, I was like, well, fine. If you don't care, I guess I'll just start a blog and write about it. And the people who actually care will find it. And to this day, I haven't written in it in a long time, but to this day, it still gets like 100,000 views a month. And I host it on Blogger, and I just have like a custom domain name for it.
What was it called?
It's called BauerPower.net. And
that's kind of a cool name, actually. It flows well.
Yeah, well, it's Bauer-Power. It was always like confuses people, but yeah, it was a really good blog. I got a lot of traffic on it. I still get a lot of traffic on it. I have one time I had to figure out this. We're going off on like a tangent here, but
that's fine.
One time I had to figure out a problem with some Sonic Wall firewalls, and we were trying to make it work with a Cisco phone system. And Sonic Wall didn't have any documentation on how to make their firewalls work with the Cisco phone system, and Cisco didn't
the
either.
VLANs and shit, yeah.
And well, the way Cisco designs their phone system is just ridiculous. They're a networking company that's trying to do phones as opposed to a phone company trying to do networking. Anyway. I had to figure out, because and each company has their own proprietary names for functions and stuff. And so I had to figure out what it was that Cisco wanted us to do on a Cisco firewall, and then turn around and try to figure out how to do it on a Sonic Wall. And Sonic Wall support had no idea what the fuck they were asking, us to do. So I ended up figuring it out, and I wrote a whole blog article about it. And then I sent it to Sonic Wall, and I said, hey man, I figured out the problem. This is how I solved it. And I sent them a link to my blog. They added my blog to their knowledge base.
Oh, cool.
They're like, oh, that makes sense. Okay. And they added it to the knowledge base. It's pretty funny. So I get a lot of traffic on that specific article, like still to this day, because I guess other people are having that problem too. So how did you, how'd you end up meeting like Cappy and Rolo and, all those guys?
Funny stories. Okay. So my original Masculine Geek Twitter account got hosed because I said,
I was gonna say you're the current one that you're on now. Is that like your third one, or is this your second one?
Well, no, that was my original. All right, let's back it up a little bit. I hate social media fundamentally.
Yeah.
So I got involved in social media in 2014, 2015. I was doing some voice narration work and involved with what's called the Lovecraft e-zine. Mike Davis runs that. That's neither here nor there, but that's his name, Mike Davis. He runs the Lovecraft e-zine. Lovecraftezine.com, I believe.
Okay.
And I became friends with him and the crew, the authors and game designers, and around that whole, for lack of a better word, culture. And I was playing online Call of Cthulhu games. And part of that was, hey, we kind of interact on Facebook and we use Twitter, and it might be a good idea if you like. And I held out, and then finally, like, to hell with it. I did a Facebook account, which I don't use anymore, and I had a Twitter account, and I also use that for my writing. I'm an author as well. So the Dennis Malone 1884. Dennis Malone is one of the characters in my novella series, and 1884 is just the other character in the novella series is Nikola Tesla. And 1884 is the year that Tesla came to the United States. So that's all that. So that's my original account, which was created in 2000, I think. Let me take a look. I think it's 2010 or what have you. If I look at my profile here. No, I joined March 2014. So that's when I was setting up my writing account. So that's what this really was. That was separate and it was private. And I created the Masculine Geek account, which, had about 4,000 followers. And I said, I replied, just retweeted someone, and I said, stated trans equals mental illness.
Yeah.
And
that's what got your account banned?
That banned my account immediately. Banned me. I had no appeals, nothing. We don't like that. Even after Elon took over. I figured, let me try again.
Jack Napier got his account back, and he called someone a fag or something, or.
Yeah, I know, right? Go figure. So apparently, the trans community is an ultra uber protected community. You cannot, no shade, no flaming them, no fire against that community whatsoever, according to Twitter. So easy come, easy go. So I just kind of moved everything over to the Dennis Malone account, the writing account, and just changed the display name to Masculine Geek and put up the logo in the background and went from there.
Yeah.
So
okay.
that's that. And I rambled. I forgot your original question. So
the original question was, how did you meet Captain
Oh, that's
Roland?
right. All right. So back before Masculine Geek, Aaron Clary and TJ started following me. So I followed them back. I'm like, oh, cool. And I kept up with their tweets and whatnot. I think with TJ, the common denominator was Gettysburg and Civil War history and writing.
Mm-hmm.
And with Aaron, I don't even know what the fuck it was. He just reached out to a bunch of people in both on a Twitter public post and in DMs. He's like, hey, I'm going to have a meetup in Silver Springs, Maryland. Do you want to show up? So like, that might be kind of cool. I'll meet this son of a bitch. So I showed up, and it was a cool meetup, and the friendship took off from there.
Okay.
Yeah. So a lot of, even with Rob, all the people that I'm in contact with now and talk to, for the most part, I've met off of. So Twitter's a good thing. I met off of Twitter.
Yeah.
Social media.
Yeah, I met almost all those guys through Twitter. Yeah.
Exactly.
Same way. They're very active on there.
Mm-hmm.
So, it's going back to the trans thing though. Like that's how my original TikTok account, I think, pretty much got banned. I was there was this whole trend of being super straight, right? And what that, are you familiar with that?
I've heard the term, but I don't know any details.
Yeah, so it ended up being like a viral trend, because what happened was some trans person was saying how if you're a man and you won't date a trans woman, then you're transphobic. And this guy made a video going, that's bullshit. He goes, look, if that's gonna be the case, like that's what you're arguing, well then I sexually identify as super straight, which means that I'm only sexually attracted to biological females. And if you don't like it, you're a bigot, right? And that went completely viral. People started making songs about it. They started making their own flag, right? You know how like there's the rainbow flag? There ended up being like this orange and black, I think based off of Pornhub or something, but it was an orange and black flag. And so everyone started coming out as being super straight. Like, I'm just owning my truth right now. I'm just, I
kind of turning the table, like using their own bullshit against them.
Right. And so then, of course, I made a whole bunch of videos about how I was coming out as super straight, and all these people were telling me how bold and beautiful and brave I was. And anyway, like all those videos got taken down for hate speech, and I just had so many of those types of violations. They finally just took my whole account. So
do you still do TikTok, or did you create another account?
I do. I created a second account, and then that one's completely shadow banned. Like
what?
The videos only get like, double digit views and stuff like that. So I created a third account, which is what I'm on now. And that one's doing pretty good.
Okay.
So, just got to keep, playing the game, I guess. So
yeah, just another iteration.
Yeah. So going back to Clary, your Twitter bullying of Aaron Clary is legendary. How did that start?
He actually started it. It's funny. He started it before the Masculine Geek stuff. I used to run a gaming website with a buddy of mine, John, called legendsoftabletop.com. He still does it, and he does interviews and game stuff, but I've taken the back seat. And he was throwing out, he would put up those fake news things. And he got my buddy John and I in one, and I thought it was funny. My buddy John got pissed. I'm like, dude, it's not he's just fucking around. So he started that even before Masculine Geek. So I let it go, and he kept up. I'm like, all right, I'm gonna get this son of a bitch. So every once in a while I take a screenshot, or I'll get something funny that he says, or a funny photo that TJ sends me, and I set them aside in a folder. And when I'm bored and doing something else, and I want to rest, I'm like, oh, let me go to the Aaron Clary meme folder and create some memes from. So I have them ready to go just to retort to his, because usually he's doing it. And I figured, you know what? I'll throw one out here every now and then, but yeah, it's so much fun.
Dude, it's so many people like doing that to him now. You know,
Yeah,
like
well,
it did, like the whole.
yeah, I have. Oh, I sort of I have a bone to pick with you guys doing that. Overall, it's not a big deal. You do what you want. But having said that, if you haven't met the person you're busting
Mhm.
and sat down and broken bread and have shared a beer or alcohol with, or just sat and I met them personally,
Mhm.
I don't do that. Especially these Twitter accounts that are like 10 people or 10 followers, and they're doing the same thing and I'm like, no.
They're just busting on Clary because it's like the fun thing to do, and
Yeah, no,
like,
it's just they're dog piling on just because to do it. But for me, it's like, well, I know I've met Aaron, I've hung out with him on numerous occasions. We're friends,
yeah,
and this is what we do. You, on the
yeah.
other hand, are a no-name retard. So no, stop that.
Yeah, Clary's actually a really like. I finally got to go hang out with him up at his compound and stuff like that. He took me all
Oh, cool.
over the place. We went hiking. Yeah, he's
Mhm.
a really good dude, man.
Oh yeah.
He was giving me tips on like this whole podcasting thing because he's been doing it for years. He's just like, oh, you got to do this. This is how you do it, you know, like. And I'm
Nice.
just like trying to hike and keep up with his ass because he's in remarkably good shape, you
He
know.
is. I refuse to hike with him. When I go hiking, I do like to.
yeah,
Well, I do like to hike. Okay.
yeah.
And for me, hiking is you stop, you look around. I'll sit and I'll write. I'll write in my journal. I'll enjoy what's going on around me and soak it all in. I don't
Yeah.
want to put headphones on and then charge ahead to get to the summit and then turn around, take a photo. What's up, assholes? And then skip and run back down the other side of the mountain. I don't
Yeah.
I don't care about that. But so yeah.
Yeah, I was trying to explain that to him as well. I was like, you know, when I go hiking, I'm not journaling or anything, but it's a little more leisurely. It's a walk, you know,
A
it's not a
saunter.
it's not a brisk walk. It's a very, you know, normal paced walk. And I like to stop and have, you know, a picnic and, you know, take a look at the view and, you know, just enjoy being out in nature and sort of unplugging a little bit.
Exactly.
And he's
Yeah.
out there just like, this is my gym time, motherfucker. Like
He's like he's like the Rain Man of hiking.
yeah.
He's just like gotta watch Wapner. Gotta do it at this time. He's like a spurging out when it comes to hiking.
Yeah. Yeah. I was you know, and I've like ran marathons and stuff. And I'm like jogging to keep up with him. Like, this guy's fucking
Exactly.
crazy. This is
Yeah,
nuts.
I'm not doing that. Nope.
So
Oh shit.
switching gears here.
Mhm.
You're a fellow motorcyclist. How long have you been
Correct.
riding?
April will be 5 years.
Okay. All right.
Yep. I've been
How did
wanting
you
to
get
do it
into it?
since I was 18.
Okay.
And I finally said, you know what? I'm tired of this shit. So my first bike was a Suzuki Boulevard S40, 2011, with 300 miles on it. It was
Mhm.
fantastic. A coworker of mine had traded a pinball machine for it because he's a pinball mechanic and tech and collects them. So he was going to
Mhm.
learn to ride. Never did. It sat in the garage, pristine condition. And he found out I was looking in the market for one. He's like, "Here, $2,000. $2,000 for a motorcycle that only has 300 miles on it. Sold." So
Yeah.
I learned on that, and then I sold that to James Streisand from Esco and Geek. So he has it out in Texas. He needs to get that fixed. James fixed that and start riding again. And now I have a Kawasaki Vulcan Custom 900.
Okay.
Yep.
Very cool. Yeah. It's funny, I never thought I was going to be a motorcycle rider. I always,
Hmm.
my brother got into bikes when, you know, right out of high school, and he got into like a nasty wreck because he's a fucking idiot, though. You know,
That'll do it.
I think that most guys that get into, I think it's statistically shown that most motorcycle accidents happen because of negligence from the motorcyclist. You know, like they're not paying
Yeah,
attention, they're doing crazy shit.
they're goofing off.
So, I mean, obviously, you know, shit happens, you know, like you're trying to be the safest possible, and then someone doesn't see you. That happens too. But majority of accidents happen because of negligence from the motorcyclist's part. And that was what happened with my brother. He was going through a fucking subdivision, 25 mile per hour, limit through, housing area. And he's doing like 95, through the subdivision. And someone was parallel parked and they didn't see him and they just pulled out and he fucking T-boned them. He didn't have enough time to react. And he ended up flying up over the car about 20 feet, landed on his back, like his helmet cracked in half. He was all fucked up. He had I think broke some bones and he was in the hospital and he didn't have his motorcycle endorsement. So the cops showed up at the hospital and gave him a citation there as he's all lined up in the hospital bed. And so, so I had this negative idea of motorcycles, and I was like, oh, they're dangerous. I would never ride one and stuff like that. But ended up, a couple of years ago, ended up dating some chick that was a motorcyclist, and she got me into riding bikes. She would I'd go down to her place and she would cook me dinner and just give me the keys to her bike, and she would say, go take it out for a spin, and so I would drive it around the block and all that stuff, and ended up breaking up with her because she just she had issues. But motorcycle chicks,
don't they all? Yes,
right. So ended up breaking up with her, but then I signed up for classes at the local Harley dealership and ended up buying my own bike. And bikes are actually surprisingly affordable, my girlfriend now, nurse chick, she's looking for a motorcycle and she's shopping around, and man, people just they're just basically giving these bikes away. They get them, they don't ride them that much, and then they're just basically giving them away for a couple grand. It's pretty easy to pick up.
Oh yeah, Craigslist is full of bikes for sale. Now, what do you have? What do you ride?
I have a 2015 Honda Shadow, so it's a 750, and I got that. It had 8,000 miles on it. I got it for about $3,000, and
nice.
And I love it. Yeah, it's a great bike. So I think eventually I want to get a bigger engine bike, because going out on highways and getting up at the higher speeds or whatever, it struggles a little bit as a 750. But
yeah, you wind up rattling your fillings out, and the wind's buffeting you. You're being blown all over the highway, and you have more fuel capacity too with a larger bike with a larger tank.
Yeah, definitely. I was telling Nurse Chick, I was like, if we ever wanted to do something crazy, like a motorcycle pilgrimage to to Sturgis or something, I was like, we probably want to get bigger bikes, and I was like, or if we wanted to go cross country, go get those Honda Gold Wings where you're basically just riding a couch down the road.
That's pretty much, yeah. Heated this, heated that, yeah. Air conditioning, fans blowing on you.
Yeah.
In the hot fans in the winter.
Yeah, my bike, it didn't have a windshield on it at first. So when I first got that thing, there's a lot of just wind hitting you and stuff like that. I finally ended up getting a windshield for it, so it lessened that a little bit. But longer rides on that thing were miserable because of that. I don't know how they designed bikes without that on there.
Yeah, I always, the rare occasions that I'm on major highways, I always have the visor down, the face shield.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, that helps a little bit. So do you recommend that all men at least try riding bikes?
I think so. It's not a hard fast rule, but it's so much fun. I always say it's the closest you can get to flying without being on the plane. There's a sense of freedom with a bike that you don't get with a car. I liken it to especially when you're on a backcountry road. You can attest to this. You're looking around. You're being safe, but you're looking around, and you're on essentially a bicycle that's going 50, 60 miles per hour. You're looking down at the road, but it's as if you're riding through a painting. You're in the painting when you're on a bike. There's such an immediacy of experience that you don't get with that steel. For the most plastic and metal around you in the newer cars. It's not comparable to a motorcycle. So yeah, I would say most young men that are finding their way in the world, adventuring, absolutely learn to ride. You took classes. I took. There's a national MSF or NSF or something where it's a clearinghouse for locations that offer the classes, and you pay the $350, whatever it is. Some states are free. I know in Pennsylvania these classes are free. Excuse me, but I paid the money mainly because I had an idea I had wanted to ride, but I wasn't sure if I would ultimately like it. So rather than borrow a bike or buy one and then, learn to ride it, I figured, all right, well, let me take these classes. I can take the test, excuse me, take the test and then practice in the parking lot for 2 days using their bike, which worked. However, having said that, don't do it in the middle of June, which I did. You'll sweat your ass off because you have to wear all the safety gear. They won't let you. You have to wear a helmet, long sleeve shirt, long pants. You have the boots. Not that I wouldn't wear that anyway, but I would choose not to have long sleeves and gloves in the summertime. So yeah, that was a pain. But yeah, I would say take the class, because then I don't know about other places, but New Jersey, if you take the class and you pass on, it usually runs from Friday to Sunday. Friday's the test, the written test, and then Saturday and Sunday you practice for 6 to 7 hours. At the tail end of Sunday or your practice, they give you the road test. Unless you dump the bike, you're going to pass it. So you get a waiver to go to your local DMV and say, hey, I need my endorsement on my license. Here's my road test I already passed. So you don't have to take the DMV's road test, which is a little bit more difficult.
Yeah, that's how it is in Colorado. They follow the same test when you do it as Colorado's DMV test, but you're not dealing with a DMV person. You're dealing with a guy from the motorcycle shop who's like a little more, looks the other way a little bit.
Exactly. Yeah, it is more friendly and not a huge dick.
Yeah. Ours was. I'm so glad I took that test, man, because that motorcycle chick was initially showing me how to ride, and I went and bought the bike, and I went and took the written test with the DMV so that I could ride with her on on the weekends and stuff like that. Because you can in Colorado, if you have the was it the learner's permit, the bike learner's permit, you can ride with someone who has their endorsement, okay. So, but the thing was, like, she didn't teach me everything I needed to know. Like, she taught me how to operate the bike. She taught me essentially, which lane, how the lanes sort of split up into 3 parts, and like, where you want to be position wise and stuff like that. Otherwise, it was more like, that was pretty much it. Whereas you go to the class and they're teaching you like, hey, your peripheral vision sucks. And they'll show you, they have different exercises to show you that, and like how you're supposed to look up and down and left and right, and all sorts of safety stuff that she never even taught me, and it's just generally good stuff. They have you like, drive over 2x4s to show you that, hey, the bike can handle it, stuff like that, so yeah, if you're thinking about getting a bike, definitely spend the money on the class. It's totally worth it,
Correct. Yeah. Stop thinking about it. If you're thinking about it, you're serious on some level. And Paul and I would suggest you stop thinking about it and go do it. Action, action, always.
Yeah. Yeah. And another thing too is chicks love guys on bikes. Like, chicks love bikes. It's calculated danger,
Yeah. I will say there is one instance where, okay, so if a woman's if she's already riding, or she's come from a relationship where that was the thing, her former man was riding, or she's been around motorcycles, it doesn't quite have the same power or the spell over her that it would normally have with a chick that's never been on a bike and thinks it's hot and sexy.
Yeah, that's true.
Motorcycle chicks are just like, yeah, okay.
Doesn't everybody do this?
Yeah, completely. It completely crushes that sexual power.
Oh, so then you have to get into bar fights. Like, you have to up the ante.
Yeah, exactly. You got to kick somebody's ass and then ride off into the sunset.
Do you ride year round?
I do. Yes.
Okay. You're up in Jersey, you said?
I'm in New Jersey. I'm in southern New Jersey. I'm about 15 minutes outside of Philadelphia.
Oh, okay. It snows there, right? I mean, like, what, do you just not ride when it's snowing out, or what?
No, I will not. I'll ride when it rains. If I get caught in the rain, it's not a huge deal. I won't plan anything if it is raining. I prefer, not no precipitation.
Yeah.
Snow wise, I was very disappointed this year. I love snow. We did not get any significant amount. We got a light dusting, a few flurries here and there, but no, normally yes, but no snow this year, which was fine because then I could ride more. And we really didn't get that.
We got all your snow this year over
Yeah,
here.
I was gonna say California got all our snow too.
Yeah, I've got man, like the last 2 or 3 years, it's been a drought where I'm at, and I live in like high desert area. I'm pretty close to Utah, and but
Oh, okay.
man, this year we just got absolutely dumped on. I was just in Salt Lake City over the weekend, over
Oh,
Rob's
cool.
neck of the woods,
Oh,
and
nice.
Sunday morning was an absolute fucking blizzard. I woke up and it was just like,
Oh
what
my
the
God.
fuck is this all about? Yeah.
Was that forecasted or was that just like I don't know, like
I didn't check the forecast for it because it's it's supposed to be springtime. So I thought, yeah, it's it's
You're
gonna
like,
be
oh fuck it,
chilly,
it'll be
but
like 50 or 60.
yeah, no, total blizzard. I was sliding down the highway and stuff. I had to put my truck in 4-wheel.
Oh shit.
And I was like, do people even plow here? Like, what's going on? Like, I don't know, Mormons.
Apparently not.
Did
you, those fuckers. Did you see Rob this time or no?
Not this time, no. I saw him the last time.
Okay.
Nurse Chick and I, we went out in December to go see an independent wrestling show, and then he and his belly dancer met up with us for breakfast the next morning. So I met Rob in person. He's a good dude. I like him.
Absolutely, yeah. He's a brother.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. All right, let's switch.
Did I ever tell you I met Rob?
Well, I know you have. I mean, you and Rob and Jack were all together in Philadelphia recently.
Oh yeah. Have I told you how I met Rob though?
Oh no, how did you meet Rob?
Off of Twitter. Rob was on Rule 0, and then he was going through a bit of a rough time, and he put out a tweet, and he said, "Hey, how do you guys deal with this? I'm just curious to know, fellow brothers, and what do you guys do for this?" I said, "Hey, you want to talk? Here's my number. Call." And we were on the phone for like old women. We were on the phone for like 6 hours, and we became fast friends after that.
Oh,
Yeah.
you know what? He's told that story before. Like he was actually
he makes it public. Yeah, it's not private. Yeah.
He was thinking of like offing himself or something, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was not doing good, and I was like, "Yo, man, hey, let's talk. Yeah, here's my number. Call." And if he hadn't called like within that day, I was going to just call him. So, but he did, and it was like cool.
Yeah,
but Jack and Rob, yeah.
Yeah, because he did a stream maybe a month or two ago where he told that story, and he was talking about thinking of how he was thinking about offing himself, and I was just like, glad you're still here, Rob.
Seriously, yeah.
Thank you for saving Rob, man.
You're welcome. Yes, it was a privilege and an honor to save Rob.
Yeah, he's highly underrated in the space. I've had him on the podcast, I think 2 or maybe even 3 times now, and every time he's on, people are like, "Who the fuck's that guy?" He's awesome,
right? Oh yeah,
I'm like, "That's Rob, man."
Rob is indeed awesome. Yeah. But he's even better, even more fun to hang out with in person. Like, as you mentioned, Jack and Rob were out here in August.
Yeah.
So that was fun.
What's Jack like in person?
Pretty much how he is on the screen, as it were. Yeah, he has this energy that Rob and I are like, almost like an Aaron Clary type energy.
Okay.
To him. Very, very exuberant. A healthy exuberance, which was very refreshing. Because usually guys his age are, lethargic and just fat and boring, but he was none of those things. It was cool to hang out with. Yeah.
And you guys were indulging in some White Claws.
Yeah, that was Jack's idea. I was like, "Well, you're buying them, motherfucker." I'm like, but we had. Do they not
have White Claws over in the Netherlands or what?
I think he wanted to do it just to try it and as a joke.
Okay.
So he got us the I think blackberry, and that was it's disgusting. I can't speak to the other flavors because I refuse to try them, but the blackberry was gross. Rob and I maybe finished half of ours, and we just like can't do this. So Jack finished his plus ours.
Yeah. Okay. All
Yeah,
right.
it was pretty bad. Yeah, if you haven't had one, don't. And if you had one, you can commiserate with me.
I've had them before, like, cause I like to I do the keto diet, and so drinking alcohol. I mean,
Oh, okay.
you can drink like whiskey or vodka because there's no carbs in that. And then if you
Or
want
gin or
something
whatever. Yeah.
if you want something a little bit lighter, White Claws are low carb, so that they're a decent
Well, that
option.
makes
But yeah, I mean,
sense.
but if I didn't give a shit, I'd much rather have a beer over over a White Claw.
Oh my God. Yeah, I posted us holding the cans out, and I said something to the effect of, we're gonna get are we going to get kicked off a podcast? I think that was the thing that was everyone was laughing about.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Yeah,
that was
Fresh
fun.
and Fit are notorious for giving chicks White Claws and kicking
I've
them off the
heard.
podcast.
Yes.
Yeah.
That was pretty funny.
Let's talk about
Oh,
some BDSM a little bit here. Um,
sure.
for guys not in the know, what is BDSM?
Okay, BDSM is bondage and discipline, domination and submission, and sadism and masochism. That's what that
Mhm.
stands for. Um, there's a commercialized version of BDSM which you can find if you go to different clubs or play parties or private events, and online. You go on sites such as thecage.co or alt.com or FetLife and things like that. So you can delve into that if you wish. But I first, so I probably wouldn't have even mentioned. I think I talked about this on Red Hawk's channel. I have to give a shout out to Modern Life John because I never would have mentioned my interest in it. But I was out and about, in fact, on the motorcycle with one of my girls at the time. She was wearing my collar, and Modern Life John made a post to the effect of, if you want to find a submissive girl, you have to go like where they are or submissive website or something to that effect. So I said, hold your neck up, took a shot in the restaurant we're at, and then sent it over on Twitter and like retweeted. And I said, can confirm.
Yeah.
And then it just blew up and took off from there.
Oh, okay.
So that was my social media, introducing everyone via social media to my interest, as it were. Yeah.
Yeah. Have you always been into it, or did you
I've
get into it later?
I've had an interest in the physical aspect of it from just being a kid and watching what's her face from Wonder Woman get tied up with her own lasso,
Mhm.
or movies where women were getting abducted and tied up and kidnapped. I'm like, wow, I want, consensually, of course, but that's kind of cool. I want to do that when I get older.
That's kind of hot when they're
pervert.
struggling like that. Yeah.
Exactly, and they're screaming into their own panty gag. Absolutely. If you haven't done that yet, take your girl's panties and shove them in her mouth. So yes,
Just gotta write down.
just write that down.
here.
They're sopping
Nurse
wet
chick,
panties.
take a mental note.
Take a
No.
mental note. Your panties are going in your mouth.
She likes to listen to the podcast, so just
Oh,
take a
okay.
mental note, hon. We'll deal with that later.
Exactly.
So now you like to post videos with like paddling and bondage and stuff like that. I got
Correct.
some questions here. What's the best knot to use when tying a girl up? Like a bowline knot or like a standard square knot? What do you recommend?
There's something called I wish I had some rope here I should have thought about that and brought some more. There's something called it's not really a knot so much as it is a series of twists and turns called a monkey's paw or a cat's paw.
Oh,
Where you
okay.
hold the rope up in the formation of an M, and then twist the ends, and then so the one large loop you can fit your girl's hand over, and then tug it tight, and it makes a small. It looks like a knot, but it's really not a knot. It's just a series of loops. So that works. You could tie it off with a square knot if you want to. You want to make sure the rope is not too tight, especially on pressure points or pressure contact points like the knees and the elbows, and where you could cut off the blood flow. And make sure you can easily get off or untie your girl. So it's whatever you're comfortable with, and you can easily get her out of that situation or out of that tie.
Yeah.
which is
Okay.
one of the reasons why I'm delving more into rope bondage now than I ever have been, but I prefer other methods of restraint. So, yeah.
Okay. Are you really good at macrame or?
I don't do I don't do any of that stuff now. You'd think I would, right? I'd be knitting a sweater or some shit.
Right. Well, you know, macrame is the art of tying knots. So, you know,
That's true too. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you think books and movies like 50 Shades of Grey have caused a rise in the popularity of that type of interest?
I would say so. It's definitely commercialized and put it into the forefront of the public's mind. Women are going nuts over it. In fact, if it's not the most widely read and popular book as far as sales, I don't know what is. It's really up there. I did read an article that came out of the UK when all this started happening. When after the movie was shown in the movie houses, the staff had to go in and basically dry clean the seats because women were squirting everywhere and getting wet. Yeah, over over this movie. So yeah,
I believe it. Yeah. So I had M on, and you mentioned her before. So M from M Traditional Taboo, and she says that movie was had a very inaccurate depiction of the lifestyle. Would you agree with that?
Oh yeah, that was basically fan fiction for Twilight. And if you, it's funny because I did watch the movie and read the first book to see what all the fuss was about. Don't read it. The movie is, if you have in your mind, okay, this was supposed to be Twilight vampire fanfic. There's a scene where she takes over an interview that her roommate was supposed to do with Christian Grey, and he falls for her, whatever, has an interest in her. And there's a scene outside where he turns to her. He's like, I'm not good for you. You should stay away from me. What? That's something that idiot from the vampire things was, you should stay away from me. I'm not good. Whatever no self-proclaimed dominant man is going to say that. He's going to take what he wants. Something about you I like. I want you in my world. I'm bringing you into my world. These are the rules. There you go. He's not going to bring her in and then go, you should stay away from me. In that kind of tone. Now is just, the whole thing was ridiculous. And it was written by a woman for vampire fan fiction. And then it couldn't do that, obviously, for copyright infringement. So they look, what could be close to a vampire? Let's BDSM. So that's the whole thing is like not how a formal commercialized BDSM relationship would go down.
Yeah. I think at all. If I remember correctly, I might be misremembering this, but I think her problem with it was that it's basically like he's the dominant, but he's seeking approval from his son.
Correct. Like the whole thing was backwards. Like he was trying to qualify to her. And completely deering through the whole thing. Yeah. And that's not how this works.
That's not how any of this works. Yeah.
That's not how this works, you fools. So
I've only got a couple more questions here and then we can wrap up. So looking at your Instagram, your bio says former Civil War cavalry. Now you seem a little young to have been in the Civil War.
That was that's the Instagram that I created when I created the Dennis Malone character for my book. So Dennis Malone is former Civil War cavalry.
Okay.
So I just threw that in there as a point of interest. So people would say, "Hey," or say exactly what you did, and then a conversation could start after that.
Perfect. Okay.
Yeah.
Got it. So speaking of your Dennis Malone character, you have a link to your novel Tesla and Malone Lightning's Call. Now that's on Amazon, but you have a series of those?
I have it's funny story. No, we start. So the second book is done and has been for several years now. I'm still waiting on my book cover designer to produce. I've paid him his 50% up front. He's a friend, so part of that is I have to own some of it because I'm not on his ass enough to say, hey, look, dude, fucking knock it off. I need my product. You know, it's this August will be 2 years since I commissioned him for the book cover.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, it's bad. Now, juxtapose that with the MG Pulp Fiction anthology that I'm doing with TJ, Noble, Rollo, and myself.
Mm-hmm.
I was given a recommendation from Mike Davis from the Lovecraft E-Zine for this. Hey, this guy does good covers, and I looked at his work. I'm like, wow, it would lend itself well to Pulp Fiction. Reached out to him. So yeah, sure. What's the idea? What's going on? So I sent him an excerpt from everyone's story. He created a book cover in less than 2 weeks. So that's done.
Yeah,
I'm just
but
waiting.
You've already paid your friend, so it's like you can't just
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I really need to put my foot down with that and say, look, dude, you have to shit or get off the pot. But having said that, yes, the first book has been done since 2015. That's been out, and that's in ebook, paperback, and Audible. You can get that. I did a MP, the Audible.
Okay.
Audiobook.
So what's that basically about? Like, what's the gist of it?
Essentially, a former Civil War cavalry sergeant named Dennis Malone meets Tesla when he arrives in New York, when there's some weird kind of Call of Cthulhu monster shit, Ghostbuster stuff going down, and they help each other just save the world, or at least save New York City. So
sweet. Okay. Yeah, that sounds fun.
Yeah. it's pretty cool. I enjoyed writing it.
So, and then you said that you're working on a fiction project with Rollo and TJ and some other guys. So Rollo's mentioned that before.
He has.
You guys
yes.
are each doing are you guys doing short stories? What's that?
I'm doing a novella. TJ's doing a short story. I think Rollo and Noble both have long form short stories, but don't quote me on that because I don't have Rollo's yet.
Okay.
Still waiting for his and for Rollo to finish the title typeface on the actual book cover, because that wasn't included in the cost of the actual book cover creation. Yeah.
Okay. And then is it going to be one book with like?
It'll be an anthology. It'll be one book with all of our stories, and we're not doing an ebook because, for my mind, any kind of pulp should be a physical. You should have a book near me. It's a D&D book, but having a physical book in your hand to read old school Pulp Fiction is perfect, and that's really the only way to read.
Yeah. So it's going to be a physical book only, no audio book for something like that.
Well, maybe it's possible. I was talking with James yesterday. I do want him to do a rendition of it for my story. So I think what I'll do is next year I'll publish. It's called Laser Dicks. And, it's not what you think. It's not what you think. So
I'm thinking of a dick with a freaking laser beam on it.
Like, I know, right? That's the first thing you think, right? So this is one of our. I think it was about a year or two ago. We were talking about old VHS analog stuff. I think TJ had brought it up, and we were talking about laser disc players. And rather than say laser disc, I said laser dick. And I'm like, oh shit, that's laser disc. You guys know what I'm talking about? And they're like, wait a minute. And I thought about it, like, that'd be a good pulp action detective story, because a dick is a detective.
Ah, okay.
So that's the word for an old school detective, a private dick.
Yeah.
So it basically features Rob, TJ, and I. We have a sort of a detective agency. That's where we have a detective agency. And our storefront is an old barbershop that has a bar, and that's sort of our main hustle while we do the part-time detective work. And so the idea behind Laser Dicks is all that cool. Remember back in the 50s and 60s, the idea when people were thinking about future, like they would say, okay, well in the year 2000, there's going to be like lasers and hover cars and hover cycles and all these cool things. Well, that never happened. So I was like, all right, laser dicks. How about we have a setting that's ambiguous, but it's sort of the 1940s or 50s, but they have all that really cool stuff like hover cycles and hover cars and laser pistols. So that's a technology I include, and I also juxtapose it with a lot of analog stuff like regular, old landline telephones and TJ's typing away on his typewriter, and there's phonographs and things like that. And there's references to that time period. Although I don't have any particular city setting, and I don't really say the time. I leave that up to the reader's imagination to plug in the details as they wish. So I originally serialized that in Nick August's Punch Riot magazine. So when that came out every month, I posted a chapter. Well, the last chapter was never done. I finished that, and I'm going to release that as part of the pulp anthology. So
okay, yeah. Very cool. Looking forward to all of that. Well, this has been a fun conversation, Vince, man. Where can people find you online?
Masculine Geek.life. If you want to join, reach out. You can hop into the Twitter DMs, and the Twitter is Dennis Malone with one N. Dennis Malone, all together, 1884. So that's myself on Twitter, and the site is MasculineGeek.life, and the YouTube channel. Just type in Masculine Geek in YouTube, and you'll find us.
Perfect. I'll put links to all these in the description.
Oh, cool.
Vince,
thank you.
Yeah. Thank you so much for
this has been great.
Again, man. I appreciate it.
No, absolutely. Thank you for having me on. This has been a blast.
Vince, thank you for joining me today. I really appreciate it. You're welcome back anytime. Man, I love just shooting the breeze with guys in the community, guys that they're into certain geeky stuff, like I'm not really like that into Dungeons and Dragons, but I do like fantasy novels, and I do like fantasy based movies. Like the Dungeons and Dragons movie was actually a really fun movie. I don't know if you guys haven't seen it yet. It's a pretty fun movie. If you guys have kids, your kids will love it. I had fun with it. I watched that with my son. I thought it was going to be just complete garbage, but it was actually a pretty fun movie. I'm into wrestling, as you guys all know. I guess you could say I'm a pro wrestling nerd, right? I'm a pro wrestling geek. In fact, I was a guest on Vince's show on Masculine Geek, and that was we talked a lot about pro wrestling, actually, like why I liked it, why I'm into it, why I am a pro wrestling geek, and I'm proud of it, man. I've been working in like the IT field for 18 years now. And like early on, man, I really just embraced the geekiness of being in IT and stuff like that. I was an absolute computer geek. In fact, like one of my favorite sites was, it wasn't geeks.com. I think it was like computergeek.com maybe. And anyway, they had like a warehouse in San Diego, and you could actually go to their warehouse and get really good deals on computer equipment, motherboards and RAM and hard drives, and you could build your own rigs and stuff. I got really into that stuff for a while. So I'm a geek at heart too. That's why I think I resonate pretty well with Vince. He's an interesting cat. All right, guys, that's pretty much all I have this episode. If you haven't done so already, please like, subscribe, hit those notifications. Drop a comment if you haven't dropped a comment yet. Drop any kind of comment, your favorite emoji, all that kind of stuff helps us in the algorithm. Follow me on social media. The links are in the description. I drop clips from these episodes, and it also, my Wednesday and Fridays live streams. I drop clips of those on like all of social media. So in fact, that's how most people find the podcast, is because of they'll see a TikTok or something of mine. Well, that comes from these episodes. So if you like that kind of short form content, just little tidbits, just a little taste, follow me on social media. I'm on all the good ones. Links in the description for that. Get on the Patreon, patreon.com/comeonmanpod. You can join for as little as $10. When you join for $10, you get added to the beer credits at the end of these episodes. If you stay tuned in the next couple of minutes, you'll see all the dudes that are supporting this show with the beer credits. If you guys want any kind of coaching, life coaching or date coaching or relationship coaching, join tiers 2 or tiers 3. It's really affordable. I think I'm probably the most affordable guy out there because I know I'm not charging enough. And then get on the email list.comeonmanpod.com. I will send you some free stickers for your troubles. If you like those designs, they're also available as merch, hats, t-shirts, coffee mugs. This particular design, this girl, you know, I'm a bad boy. This one's only available in the merch store. So go to merch.comeonmanpod.com. If you want to get some merch, if you like this hat, you can get it in different colors too. You can get this in all black. You know, it's pretty slick. I like it. I like the trucker hat design. Not everybody does, but I like it. And finally, check out my Practical Law of Attraction course, loa.comeonmanpod.com. It's a mindset course, and once you get your mind right, everything else tends to fall into place. And one thing too, I don't plug them enough, but in the description where you can find this course, but you can find other courses too, like all of Aaron Clary's courses. I'm linking to them. RP Thor has some excellent courses. He's got one on was it creating a dominant masculine presence? It's phenomenal. Check that out. Links in the description for that. I don't know if it'll be available by the time this posts, but I'm supposed to get a course from Troy Francis available. So look below. That should be there if he's given me the link for that already. And then also John Fitch's practical self-defense course is linked below as well. So check it out. I got a whole bunch of different courses down there, man. That'll help you out. You know, finances, women, fighting, being more masculine, all that stuff's available down below in the courses section. So I think that's pretty much all I have this week, guys. So with that being said, catch me on Wednesday for the live stream, and we will see you next time.
This has been the Come On Man podcast. New full episodes served hot every Monday morning on your favorite podcast platform of choice. So subscribe now. Follow Paul on social media. The links are in the description. Now, go out and get it.